Okay, I think everybody is here. Welcome to the first Pi Gamma Mu Speaker Series event of the 2025-26 year. My name is Suzanne Rupp. I'm the Executive Director of Pi Gamma Mu, headquartered at the International Office in Winfield, Kansas, where Pi Gamma Mu was founded over 101 years ago. Today's event will feature a panel discussion focusing on conducting effective membership drives. We're recording this event today to share with those who are not able to attend this event live in person with us today. The members of our distinguished panel include expert chapter sponsors who will be sharing their tips and tricks and answering your questions. Today, we're going to have our panelists introduce themselves. Panelists, please share your name, your college or university, your discipline, and any other details that you would like to share. Randy, would you get us started?
Hi, my name is Dr. Randy Bertolas. I'm chair of the Department of History, Politics, and Geography at Wayne State College in the rolling hills of Northeast Nebraska. Go Cats! I'm a geographer by trade.
Thanks, Randy. Kathy, would you like to go next?
Sure. My name is Dr. Kathy Im. I am from the University of Maryland Global Campus. I was for 20 years the program director for behavioral science and gerontology. This year I switched my role to senior director for faculty life cycle, but I'm still very much involved in the social sciences at my campus. So thanks.
Thanks, Kathy. Jen?
Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Jen McNabb. I am the head of the history department at the University of Northern Iowa in scenic Cedar Falls. Also, go Cats.
Lots of cats. Okay. And Allison, our final panelist.
Hi, everyone. I'm Allison Knox. I am the chapter sponsor for the American Military University and American Public University. And my area is emergency management and ambulance policy. Thank you.
Thanks, Allison. We also have Gordon Mercer with us today. He is the chair of Pi Gamma Mu's chapter membership and group committee. Gordon, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, Gordon Mercer. I'm on the faculty emeritus at Western Carolina University and have previously served as president of Pi Gamma Mu. And I would just say I do want to recognize we do have a chapter and membership growth committee that has responsibility for input in different policies we have in that area. And I would like to acknowledge the role on that committee. Some of the key members are Charles Hartwig, Allison Knox, Suzanne Rupp, Larry Hack, and we also include a lot of the chancellors when we send out notes on that. I would just like to say that this past year we are up on membership and chapters, and we are one of the few honor societies that is actually up. A lot of people are dealing with declining majors and university enrollments are a problem. So we do try to work together and keep those numbers high. And we are particularly, of course, appreciative to faculty advisors out there that advise, and we do try to stay in touch with them. But overall, as an honor society on membership and chapter growth, at least so far this past year, we've done very well. And of course, we're hoping for another great year. Thanks for asking on that.
Thank you, Gordon. Okay, now before we move on to the highlight of today's event, the panel discussion, I would like to share a short slideshow over the basics of membership drives in terms of logistics and how you work with our office. Don't worry, it's only about 5 minutes long, so we won't have to wait very long to hear our distinguished guests discuss their experiences with Pi Gamma Mu membership drives. So bear with me and I will share this short video with you. How to complete a Pi Gamma Mu membership drive. In this brief slideshow, we will cover a brief introduction on the importance of chapter sponsors, the membership categories, membership requirements, 2 ways to invite eligible students, and final tips and takeaways. It is the role and duty of Pi Gamma Mu chapter sponsors to invite eligible students to join. Without chapters inducting new members each year, Pi Gamma Mu would cease to exist. It is the lifetime membership fees collected from each new member that provides the majority of Pi Gamma Mu's funding. Telling students about Pi Gamma Mu and why they should join is so important. If you don't have opportunities to talk to students in person, please send them emails to encourage them to join. There are 5 categories of membership in Pi Gamma Mu: undergraduate student members, graduate or professional students, faculty and professional staff, alumni members, and honorary members. The membership requirements for undergraduates include that they must attend a college or university with an active chapter. They must be at least a second semester sophomore. They must have completed at least 20 social science credit hours with a grade point average of B in all social science courses. And they must rank in the top 35% of their class. Please note that students do not have to major in a social science to qualify. The membership requirements for graduate students include that they must attend a college or university with an active chapter, and they must complete 9 or more credit hours in social science related coursework with a GPA of B or better. The requirements for faculty and staff include that any faculty or professional staff member at a college with a chapter may be invited. Alumni members are simply former student members who are no longer associated with a chapter on campus because they have graduated. The Board of Trustees may recognize distinguished service in the social sciences by appointing individuals to honorary membership. Next, we will discuss 2 different ways to invite eligible students to join, either through the mail or online. To send in new members by mail, follow these steps. Invite the eligible students, collect the paper membership application forms, collect the lifetime membership fees, and mail in the membership forms and a check for the full amount for all members. Or if you collected money orders, mail in the money orders. Please be sure to allow at least 3 weeks to receive your certificates back from our office. To induct new members using the online system, follow these steps. Log into the advisor portal. Click on Create Invitations. Click on Click here to generate chapter invitation code. Enter a cutoff date. Email all eligible students and include the registration link and the invitation code. Log into the advisor portal to see who has registered and paid, and then email that list to bethbiddle@pigammamu.org to request your certificates. Please allow at least 3 weeks to receive them. In order to accept the invitation, the student will do the following. They will go to the registration link provided in your email. They will enter the invitation code and their personal details. Then they will be directed to PayPal, where they can pay the lifetime membership fee online. Please note that if your chapter collects chapter membership dues, you will need to collect those separately. Tips and takeaways. Please invite all eligible students to join your chapter. Check out our list of possible majors online, and remember that any student with 20 social science credits who meets the other requirements can join. They don't have to be a social science major. And please tell them why they should join. There are lists of benefits of membership on our website. Consider including this list in your invitations. Sending the invitation to the permanent home addresses of students can be helpful. Their parents often are supportive and pay the membership fee on their behalf. Our office accepts members at any time. We love stragglers, students who miss the deadline and don't join the chapter on time and later ask to join. You can simply create a new invitation code using the advisor portal or mail us a form and a check for that student. We welcome these stragglers at any time. Please remember to remind your students to accept the invitation. We find that sending an invitation at least 2 or 3 times can really help with your response rate. Thank you, and please feel free to contact me with questions at any time. So, please enjoy these updates from Pi Gamma Mu. Oops. Okay, thank you for your attention to that video. Now, let's get on to the reason we are here. Thank you again to our panel members for being here today. I will start with a question for each of you. How do you conduct a membership drive? What is your process? Not sure who would like to go first.
I'll go.
Great, thank you.
Hi, Randy Bertolas again from Nebraska. The key to a successful membership drive for me is start early, early, early. It just can't be overemphasized. This is not something you can put off or should put off. This is not something you can do at the last minute. And membership drives are a process. They aren't a one-shot, one-time deal. A lot of advisors are concerned about the process initially. Who's eligible? Who do I even contact? Who do I reach out to? All schools and universities have some kind of an office of institutional research or in the computer center. They'll compile a list. All you have to do is feed in the parameters. And you just saw those a minute ago in the PowerPoint. They'll generate you a list of names, and you can ask for things like grade point average, major, advisors, and contact information like home addresses and emails in them. Once you've got that list, now, ideally, I'm still a very tactile person. I'm a geographer. I love paper maps. So like a lot of people do, we mail out. We mail out in an envelope, a school envelope, a professional looking envelope so that people just don't throw it in the trash. They might anyhow. And we include inserts with it. There is a personally addressed letter, a form letter, but there's also the benefits brochure from Pi Gamma Mu's office, and they can provide that if you'd like. And there's also a biographical sheet in there. So if they choose to accept membership in Pi Gamma Mu, I've already got a biographical sheet filled out that we can use and read off when it's their turn to be initiated at the ceremony. And then I follow this up with emails. Subsequent emails will have more information on them. They'll include things like pictures of swag you can wear at your commencement ceremony, pictures of activities that we do as a club or organization, a reminder of the due date. I'll forward the newsletter from the national office so that people can see nationally what we do. But it's a process. It takes time. You start early. And it takes multiple steps. I've been a PGM advisor now going on 26 years. I've been a regional chancellor. I didn't learn all this overnight. So it takes time. With practice, you get better. Back to you.
Thank you, Randy. Anyone else would like to answer, how do you conduct a membership drive? What is your process?
So I can add on to what Randy has shared, and I agree with you 100%. You have to start early, and you do learn over time. You get better and more efficient over time. My institution's a little bit different from, well, maybe not Allison's, but from other folks. We are UMGC, University of Maryland Global Campus, is mostly online, and we are truly global. We have divisions in Asia and Europe, and most of our students are a little bit older. So sending a letter home to their parents doesn't usually work because most of them are in their 30s or 40s, although we do still have parents who will pay for the fee. Because we are online, we do most things online. We do everything online, actually. And so I start, because my chapter is a little bit larger, I only have the bandwidth to do this once a year. And I think understanding your own bandwidth is really important in all of this. If I tried to do this twice a year, I would do nothing else. It can be that labor intensive depending on the size of your chapter. My chapter typically recruits about 150 a year. Last year it was 220, and it almost killed me, to be honest with you. It was a lot of work. I think that if you start early, you can at least plan the milestones that you need to meet along the way. I run an eligibility report after the fall term of every year. Our list is quite large. It's about 1,500 students end up being eligible. We have over 100,000 students at this point. And so I used to send evites by email. It crashed my email. And so now marketing sends out the evites for me. And that has been a big time saver, a lot less of, getting bounce back messages, a lot more, sort of inquiries that are directly related to how do I apply. In order to do this, I create a form before we send the evite out where students can apply directly to that form. They can submit their application forms. They give me their demographic information that I use for the initiation ceremony. And then, from there, it is about a month, 2 months of sort of intensive back and forth with the students, getting information from them, answering their questions, dealing with payment issues. So between January and March is usually a pretty busy time for me in terms of dealing with recruitment. But yeah, my situation is a little bit different perhaps from other campuses, but I know there are some really large campuses out there. And so those are some of the things you might have to think about as well.
Great points, Kathy. Thank you.
I'll chime in on our chapter. Our chapter is a very large chapter because we're online. And because we're online, I don't have an office where someone can come and bring me their application. So our Office of Student Affairs actually helps us a lot. They pull a report letting us know which students are eligible based on their major and their GPA. And then twice a year, they conduct a membership drive that really only lasts about a month. Students that are eligible to join are sent invitations. They're sent virtual invitations too, and then they're able to join from there. And then from there, our Office of Student Affairs sends the entire list to the international office in Kansas, and along with a check. And then from there, that's where all of our certificates are printed. It is a little bit tricky for me in that I don't have I can kind of help with membership drives, but really I'm really asking for the assistance of student and alumni affairs to pull those reports. Once in a while, I will have a student that really wants to join, and it might be something where I have to kind of review what their major is and what kind of courses they've taken. But for the most part, student and alumni affairs helps us with our membership drives.
Great. Thank you, Allison. Jen, I imagine yours a little bit different from the large online schools. Do you have anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, sure. Process-wise, I would reiterate what my colleagues have said. I find the space between semesters particularly helpful for me to devote time as a department head to my recruitment drive. So I normally run my institutional list in late May or early June. After the spring semester is wrapped up, that gets me in a good position to be making moves in August for a fall drive. For those of you who also have spring drives or maybe exclusively a spring drive, you might work with, for the advisors on the call, for students, you might work with your department secretary of the chapter sponsor. There is a gap usually over the holiday break between fall and spring semesters. That's a nice time to get some office support. I am a big fan of redundancy plans. So I email a letter that is detailed to my chapter. I make a great deal about the Iowa Gamma view of the world. And I create a QR code that goes directly to the sign up sheet, trying to make it really easy for students to get that code and act on the invitation. I also print out on university letterhead a paper copy of the invitation letter, and I send it to the student's permanent address. At a school like mine, which is a residential campus of about 10,000, that is likely to land on parents' kitchen tables. I time that letter to arrive over the Labor Day holiday or over the end of winter break, with the idea that parents might help incentivize their students to join, or perhaps will pay a membership fee. We're entirely online membership fee oriented. So I no longer collect paper forms or checks. That can be a complication for some chapter sponsors to take in money. And then if you've got checks made out to the wrong thing, not national headquarters, it can be a little bit of a challenge. So we've really leaned into the online opportunities, and students feel very comfortable following the electronic instructions for accepting their invitation and then the PayPal membership fee. But I like the idea, and this year it's been particularly important to have redundancy plans. I related to my colleagues on the call that my email invitation went out at the same time as the university was experiencing an external hacking attempt. So students were getting suspicious looking emails, and some thought that perhaps my PGM invitation was a suspicious email. The letters home have helped reassure students that we are a legitimate organization, that this is a real invitation, because now it's in multiple forms. So I would encourage you to, if you're a student working on a membership drive, to work with your faculty to see if you can get some hard copy letters printed where that is appropriate for your campus culture.
Well, thank you so much for that. I had never thought of QR codes as being another way to get that out there. That's very creative and interesting. And I love that you send the letters home during those peak break times. Very good. Very good. I would love to open this up to the audience if there are any questions at this time. If not, I have more questions. Um, but if there are any questions from the audience, I'll take a moment to let anyone speak up.
Should we have them raise their hand if they're able to?
I think so. Would that show up in the chat? Let's
I
see.
think they can do it in the
We're
corner
on
of
there.
their own box.
Yes, please raise your hand in your
Or
box. Let me see if I.
yes.
Well, I'm not seeing any hands at the moment, so I'll move on with another question.
Oh, here's Colin.
Oh, here we go. Here's Colin. Okay. Colin Bird has a question. We'll see if we can hear him.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for this conversation. I just thought that this was a good thing to tune in for any type of membership drive. And so I was really grateful, and I'll be honest, I'm at work, so I'm kind of multitasking a bit. I just wanted to make sure I caught the main things y'all were saying, because I jumped on a little late. Y'all talked about, and I remember this process, kind of collaborating with the student affairs to get all of the students that automatically, well, that would qualify from a major and GPA standpoint. I caught that. I also caught the last point about QR codes, and I guess just strategically placing them. Um, if I heard it correctly, around maybe a campus. And then I heard about the timing of when letters could be sent so that they coincide with certain breaks. Were there other like major strategies or tactics that y'all talked about as it pertains to this? Because I thought it was really valuable information. So thank you, Ms. Rupp, and everybody for sharing the wisdom, because I think it's amazing for any type of organization, frankly.
I think one key point that emerged in the conversation was the importance of showing invited members the value of membership. Professor Bertolas was talking, and I think really, really smartly, about explaining carefully, providing some handouts or resources so that students can see the chapter at work or the international organization at work. And headquarters does have materials that can be requested for assistance with membership drives. So instead of, I think students are often snowed under with organizations to join things, actually to, pay for things at the start of an academic year. helping show how PGM is a little bit distinct from some of these opportunities by talking about scholarships and some of the other things that PGM does. I think that's one way we can distinguish ourselves in the mountain of, or the avalanche, I should say, the avalanche of invitations that sometimes descends on students at the start of an academic year or term.
I think
Thank you.
great point. And I would also add, and this has sort of been hinted at, but I think an important piece of any membership drive for an honor society is to really take the time to explain why this is a legitimate honor society. Any organization that doesn't care about your credentials is not really credible, right? So when I send my Evite out, there is messaging about, be careful, even if you don't want to join Pi Gamma Mu, be careful about who you do decide to join, because there are, unfortunately, in this day and age, it's very easy to be drawn in by sort of unscrupulous third parties who just want your money. So yeah.
Yeah, Kathy, I think that speaks directly to a question we have in the chat from Ruben Campos III.
Mhm.
Yes, his question is considering the story about university hack and scrolling by hack and the fact that students are constantly flooded with spam. How do you all convince students that Pi Gamma Mu stands out as legitimate? So yeah, that was a perfect overlap with what Dr. M said. And just to repeat, the Association of College Honor Societies is the only certifying association for college honor societies in the country. And we have been a member since 1956. And to be a member, you must prove that you have true membership requirements. So there is true academic achievement involved, among other requirements. So that is one way to really determine whether the you're looking at is legitimate. You also want to know if they are giving money back, giving scholarship funds. Do they hold conventions and conferences? Do they have a website? Does their website include who their board members are? There's a lot of details like that. But the Association of College Honor Society offers a lot of tips on how to tell the difference. So that's a great question. Thank you, Ruben. See if there's any other questions from our audience today.
Looks like Gordon has the question.
Great, Gordon. I think Gordon is muted. We're going to work on that really quick.
Here.
Gordon, I think you're muted.
One of the things.
There we go.
Okay. One of the things we're finding in the social science area is, on the one hand, in terms of our majors, some social science majors are in decline, although that varies quite a bit. But at the same time, one of the trends we've discussed before is that the number of social science majors are way up. That is actual numbers, particularly as you deal with interdisciplinary areas and a lot of new majors that are developing on campus. Could any of the participants comment on, and of course, we list well over 30 majors that are interdisciplinary and can be included, but are there any ways on your campus that you try to keep up with that is new majors and interdisciplinary majors that you could include in your invitations?
I know on my campus, every year before I run my eligibility report, I check to see what the new majors are. Conversely, as you mentioned, Gordon, there are some majors that don't exist anymore, or some programs that don't, and so we have to sort of account for those folks as well. But it's a changing landscape, and so I think in some ways we also have to be creative in what we consider to be social science, right? Because now because of regulatory issues or, you know, non-compete issues within certain jurisdictions. What is, you know, a sociology degree might not be called a sociology degree anymore. It might have some very creative, non-traditional, maybe you might have to dig a little bit to understand what is involved in that program. So it does result in a little bit of sort of manual researching to figure that out.
I think that's a well taken point, Kathy. We do need to really check through measures. I think the way you mentioned that's can be very helpful because the social sciences keep changing, and with a lot of new social science majors, and I think that's a very good point you make, Kathy.
Yeah. Thank you, Gordon and Kathy. Um, Not seeing any other questions from the audience at the moment. So I'll ask another question. Do you have support from your college or university? And if so, what does that support look like? And I'll follow up with, do you have any tips on how to get that support?
Uh,
Yeah,
I'll answer that if
Randy.
you want, if that's okay. Um, Institutional support is going to vary depending on where you are, but I'm very fortunate to have had a series of good administrators who have supported Pi Gamma Mu on our campus over the years. Everything I learned about being a good Pi Gamma Mu chapter officer, I learned from my mentor, Dr. Jean Carlin, past president of Pi Gamma Mu, and still listed as a co-faculty advisor of our chapter here. Our dean is the next level up from my department chair position. We always invite him. Sometimes he attends. The administration is aware of what we do on campus. We find we get more support from the administration if it makes the campus look good. So we publicize, we send them material for our social media feeds, for instance. And occasionally we even induct administrators. And some of the pictures on the wall behind me have pictures of past presidents and administrators at Wayne State College that we've inducted into Pi Gamma Mu. This engenders a great deal of cooperation and good feelings because we not only provide them with a handsome certificate suitable for framing, we pay for framing it so it's ready to go up on their wall in their president's office and it looks really, really good. The use of the facilities, as long as we reserve well in advance, we can use all the really good facilities on campus here, and the administration is just fine with that because we are principally a teaching institution, and involvement in service with our students is very important. The day planner on the wall behind me isn't just for good looks. Of course, I have a day planner in my hand tumor as well, but I invite my officers in and we look well in advance. Next semester, next year, when should we have these events? We need to book rooms in advance if we want them because they can be very popular. We need to be careful not to overlap with other events. And we want to keep the administrators aware of our activities. Sometimes we get bumped by the administration, which we always cooperate with. But I'm allowed to use my department budget to buy refreshments for our reception following our initiation, for instance. And that I couldn't do without cooperation of the administration either. Let them know what you're doing, make them part of the process, involve them if you can, and whatever you do, make the college look good. And administrators usually see the value of what you're doing. Allison, back to you.
Yeah,
Randy.
Randy, I think you make some very outstanding points there in terms of involving the administration. I know one thing a lot of campuses do is they will provide their chancellor or president to get an honorary membership if they can. So just another thought, something that a lot of campuses do, and to get their chancellor or president more involved in what they're doing.
I think that's a great point. And I think one of the sort of hidden aspects of being a chapter sponsor is that you do have to kind of pay attention to the PR piece. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, right? But it took me a while to learn that lesson that I needed to be contacting our media center and letting them know when one of our students received a scholarship or if somebody was presenting at a convention. And then I learned that the Media Center was really craving that kind of cooperation from people. They wanted to have those press releases. They wanted to learn about what was going on because their job trying to find these stories can be really tough. So it is a win-win situation, but it's one that I think chapter sponsors need to be aware of from the beginning, is that part of this work is making sure that you are letting everybody know about the great work you're doing.
I want to offer a slightly different perspective, not necessarily administrative in focus, but sort of student services and the academic affairs side of your institution. If you're a student, ears up. If you're an advisor, I think this is something worth considering. Make sure your student leaders understand the resources that might exist in the Office of Student Activities or your student government. At my university, student government gives funds to student organizations who attend certain meetings, who make financial requests. Our initiation ceremony has been completely funded for the last several years through a scholarship through our student government org. So that takes a huge financial pressure off the our group itself, because it is a campus competition for resources and our students do very well. This is what it is to be excellent in the social sciences. You're a good writer, you know how to create a budget, and you know how to be persuasive. And so if you are a campus leader, make sure that you understand what funds might be available to attend a PGM convention or to sponsor, underwrite an event, a speaker that you might have, or a philanthropic exercise, or even your initiation ceremony. That helps raise your chapter visibility on campus as well. If you're going to student government meetings, if you are going to those informational sessions and making sure you're an official recognized organization, if that's how your campus operates, that's another way to get your word, your name out there.
If I could add sort of a counterpoint to that, it's wonderful if you have institutional support where people will help pay for things. On my campus, there is no extra money to do that. And so you may be in a position on your campus where you might have to think about chapter dues. That is something that we have had to do. Our chapter dues cover some of it, a portion of it covers chapter activities. For example, we sponsor an annual social science essay contest, but a lot of it goes to postage, to putting together the kits that I mail out. And I used to kind of cover that cost myself, and it became prohibitive. So you should, if you're not getting funding from your schools or your departments, think about whether or not you need to impose a chapter fee and what that might look like, but be able to justify what that fee goes towards. So that would be my advice from if you're not getting as much support as some campuses.
Great advice. Thank you. I am not seeing, I'll take another question from the audience, if any. Not seeing any at the moment. So I have another question. How do you make your membership drive special? We've heard a little bit about this. I think Randy includes our benefits of membership with his invitations. Jen mails things to people's permanent homes. I'm wondering what other ideas about making the membership drive itself special.
Suzanne, if I might, yeah, the first time I see you as an initiate, I don't want it to be at our initiation ceremony. For instance, this fall, I want you getting a letter from me in August. I want you getting an email from me in the first week of classes. And in the second week of classes, we hold a very special organizational meeting. It's called Pizza Gamma Mu. Of course, pizza must be served, and that's a big draw on our campus. I order the very best from off campus from a former student of mine. They deliver it, and that always brings in students. I want you as a potential initiate to see who your fellow initiates are going to be, to see who the current members are, to see who the faculty advisors are, and to hear from all of them about the activities that you're invited to either participate in or no pressure. You don't have to do anything. You can just accept Pi Gamma Mu membership as an honor. But you're right, some students doubt the veracity of your invitation and the validity of your accomplishments. So let them come and see it for themselves. Follow this up with meeting minutes right away for those who couldn't attend. I have sign-up sheets to get them involved right away. We have a book and bake sale every September. It's a fundraiser. Lots of positions. By the time I'm done handing the clipboard around the room, I've got most of those positions filled just from our Pizza Gamma Mu meeting. Everybody gets a letter. Sometimes Randy's slow. So I've got a pile of letters at the first week of classes. Maybe I'll call in some faculty. Maybe I'll call in some of our officers. Sometimes we occasionally do tapping, which is an old-fashioned way of inviting people into fraternities, sororities, the tri-delts, the skull and bones. A student is walking down the hall and suddenly somebody walks up to them and says, "We hope you join us." And they hand them a letter or an invitation or something like that. This kind of personal nature can really make the drive seem special. And being able to participate in activities even before you've been initiated makes you feel like a member, even before you have that handsome certificate suitable for framing. Back to you, Suzanne.
Fantastic. I love it, Randy. Pizza Gamma Mu. What a creative idea. And I love that you're involving students even before they are being initiated. I think that's a really unique approach and probably one of the reasons you're an award-winning chapter sponsor. Jen, go ahead.
I would reinforce Randy's support of always having a next step for students. When we conclude our initiation ceremony, we already have the meeting set up, the next meeting set up so that students are aware of what comes next for them. And I think our recruitment drives are made special, particularly on our campus, by the recruitment or by the initiation ceremony. It happens on a Saturday morning on an important campus weekend. We've been doing it during family weekend when parents are naturally on campus for all sorts of activities. This year, we're moving to homecoming because the timing of family weekend didn't quite fit our recruitment drive cycle. So we are the thing that's happening right before the homecoming parade. I'm pretty excited about that. We have lots of bagels and coffee. The room is full of parents and younger siblings and friends. And so it's turned into a really lovely community celebration of the social sciences. And then we always have the next steps meeting already set up and talk about leadership opportunities and other sorts of campus activities. So I think one of the things that it feels really special about an honor society is that it is a celebration of academic achievement. So we try to turn our initiation ceremony into a genuine celebration of academic achievement. And that's best done in front of family and friends.
That is fantastic. Thank you so much for that. Do any of our other panelists have comments on how you make your membership drive very special?
I can speak to that. So my campus is a little different because it is mostly online, and because we are global, about half of our students are deployed military or military dependents overseas. And so, how do we can't really have an on-campus event, and I'm kind of jealous of the pizza parties and the ability to kind of get together. But I wanted to make sure that all of our students felt like they were part of something special. And so I'm going to really quickly just share my screen, if that's okay. And what I do is every year I send, and this is very labor intensive. This may not be for everybody, but I send everyone. What are you seeing now? Are you seeing the kit that we send? Every member gets a box. I call it an initiation kit. It has the program that includes the ceremony that is always scheduled for after the kits arrive. It has their cords. I usually give them some sort of swag. So you can see sort of on the bottom there, every year I give them I think this year was a recyclable thermal bag that they can take grocery shopping. I give them a bookmark with a quote from Margaret Mead. And then their articles of membership are in there. I give them a little candle so that during our initiation ceremony, even if they don't light the candle, it's kind of a gesture to let them know that they're part of something special. And this has been, again, it's a lot of work, but it is the thing that I get a lot of feedback on, saying it really made them feel like a true member. And so that's, I think, probably the biggest thing that we do every year to make sure that people feel like they are part of something great.
What an amazing touch. That is very impressive. Thank you for sharing that with us. And it really transitions perfectly into my next question. What do our chapter sponsors, our star expert chapter sponsors, do for their initiation ceremonies? I know that they vary quite a bit from chapter to chapter, so I'd love to hear about yours.
Well, I guess I've been going first. For an initiation ceremony, first of all, we highly publicize it. Everybody's invited, the entire campus. And we set the date and the time and the venue well in advance. This isn't a last minute haphazard, throw it together kind of thing. In addition, if you're going to commit to Pi Gamma Mu, we want you to look like a commitment. So I advise all new initiates to dress the part, and there will be photos. So you want to look good for this. We encourage them, of course, to invite their friends, but also their family members, spouse, whatever, that kind of thing. And at the actual ceremony itself, before we get underway, we go around the room. Somebody brings a microphone, and all the new initiates, we ask them to introduce their guests for that day. And sometimes it's really extraordinary. They'll have 8 or 10 guests with them. This is my boyfriend. This is my boyfriend's brother. This is my grandmother. This is my aunt. And they'll just go down the list. And I think the people who have been invited have a little bit more pride in what's happening. We also invite college relations, the people who publicize everything on the campus, to photograph and to help us put out a press release. And what they're most interested in is the name of the student, sometimes the major, but especially the hometown, because we want to reach out to those thousands of small little towns in Nebraska and remind people that you can go anywhere from Wayne State College. We provide good advertising for the college. We give them social media fill, which has already been talked about, or that kind of thing. And at the actual ceremony itself, once we get going, every one of our initiates gets their own moment in the sun. Their name is called, and they walk quietly to the front of the room, and there's a table set up, and we have on display what we call our memory book in Pi Gamma Mu. So we get the person in position to face the audience. They pick up a pen and they sign their name in the memory book as our student officers are taking photographs for later for bulletin board displays and things like that. And in case any family members want to take a picture, we don't just call out names and Smith, Jones, et cetera, that they get their moment really in the sun there. Of course, we'll take a group photo afterwards. Everybody gets a group photo as an attachment at the ceremony, and new and old members. Within the photo, we put on display PGM banners. We have several kinds, PGM symbols. There'll be a screen in the background saying that it's Social Sciences Day at Wayne State College, that kind of thing. It all looks good in pictures. After the group photo, we tell everybody stay in place. There's an opportunity for family and friends to come forward. We have the banner there, and sometimes when the reception's going on, parents will come up and pose their child in front of the banner, or they'll call you over and they say, would you stand on one side of the banner and my child on the other? And I want a picture to remember, that kind of thing. And I use a cutoff date just before the midterm break to make sure I've got everything into Beth Biddle, because she does miracles, but I don't want to pressure her too much. Beth gets those certificates back in time. We make sure that each student has their certificate signed by chapter officers here and handed to them at the ceremony. We don't like to be chasing them afterwards or trying to mail them out or something like that. I'd rather know if there was a misspelling on it right away, so we can get that taken care of as well. And then I use a lot of pictures afterwards. Not only do I send them to college relations, but we put a bulletin board together in our hallway here in the Social Sciences building so that anybody passing sees what a special day, what a special event this was. And gosh, Dr. Bertolas, how do I get into Pi Gamma? is a question that I get at least once a semester. Suzanne, back to you.
Well said, Randy. Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. Do we have
Suzanne?
any? Yes, Gordon,
Uh,
please.
Yeah. This is a question to you. One of the things we do every month is we'll get a note to chapter advisors out, and it might present some of the challenges like becoming a star chapter, or we often send out a 100-member chapter. And but it also gives chapters a chance to that wonder about things to get back to you, your note that goes out. So that can be quite important. Do you sometimes get a lot of questions or responses from chapters that your comments cause them to mention the things that concern them?
Um, sure, we definitely get questions. Um, it can vary from just logistically into the advisor portal and use it for the first time, to questions about whether scripts are available for induction ceremonies, just questions all over the board. And often, what my answer is to go to our website. And I will look up the information and talk the advisor through it. But I just want to mention our website is a fantastic resource. There are scripts for induction ceremonies there. Um, there are lists of what are the requirements for new members. Our bylaws and constitutions can be found there. We have ideas for chapter events. Um, we have lists of every old newsletter going back for a few decades is up on our website. So there's a great amount of information there. And it's always great to hear from our chapter sponsors. We do get those responses back with questions and comments. We're glad to hear from everyone. And yeah, so thank you for that question, Gordon. We
Okay,
try to
yeah,
keep
that's
in
quite,
touch.
I think your observation is quite important in the importance of communicating directly with chapters and giving them a chance to get back and some of the concerns they have. So that's great.
Yeah, we are always here to help. Absolutely. Uh, and thank you for that question, Gordon. Do any of our other expert chapter advisors have any special features of their induction ceremonies that they would like to share?
Well, as a contrast to what Randy does, I think what we have in common is really the desire to celebrate students and to recognize them individually. Um, I think I mentioned that our average class size is 150. So how do you celebrate all those folks in a virtual ceremony, which is what we do? And so when I have folks apply, I send them to a form that includes information where they include things like where they are currently located, because, if somebody's in Italy, we kind of want to know that, right? We want to know where they all are around the world to emphasize that we are global. I also started asking them to send me pictures. So they can, some of them don't, but they can send me up to 3 pictures. These are usually candids, or sometimes it's their military picture. And then also if they have a favorite quote or a message that they want to send to their family. And so I create like the world's longest PowerPoint slide with every student getting their own slide. I also in the beginning incorporate the official Pi Gamma Mu ceremony with visuals, which makes it a little bit more interesting. And you should see the Zoom chat on these ceremonies. They are crazy busy. The families are so excited for their initiates. And so loving and so supportive of one another. And when I have deans and program chairs and dignitaries come, they are just mesmerized by the chat, by the pictures, by the imagery. And so it means a lot, not just to our students, but to the folks who work there full time. And I also ask our students, if you have a professor who really meant a lot to you, we can invite them. And so we often have faculty members who didn't even realize how much they had touched a student's life, they come to the ceremonies and we sort of highlight them and feature how great they are as well. So that's how we try to be as inclusive as possible in a virtual format.
Well, that is fantastic. I want to personally thank you for the volunteerism and the amount of time that you all invest into these efforts to make it special for your students. It really shows. So thank you for that. We do have a few minutes left, and we have a question from Ruben Campos III in the chat. Ruben asks, how have you all integrated service requirements into your programs?
Here at Wayne State College, I remind students frequently that membership in Pi Gamma Mu doesn't exclude you from being a member in any other honor society. It expands your resume, it expands your network. But this doesn't come with an obligation other than the lifetime membership fee to have to participate, that you're obligated to do a series of activities on a checklist or something like that. We're about opportunities. And we know that you got eligible to be an honor student because you had your nose to the grindstone. You know how to organize your time. You're studying frequently. Maybe you have a job. Maybe you have a family. Maybe you don't live anywhere near our community. You're an online program student, and this just isn't going to work for you. So specifically, we don't have a requirement for a service activity. We hope you'll want to participate in our activities, but it's not mandatory for membership. Suzanne, back to you.
Thank you, Randy, as always. I appreciate that. Well, it does look like the clock is telling me that it is time to wrap up today. I wish to thank our panelists one more time. Dr. Bertolas, Dr. M, Dr. McNabb, Professor Knox, and Dr. Mercer. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise and experiences with us. I am certain that the information that you provided will be helpful to many chapter sponsors of Pi Gamma Mu in the future. Thank you also to Allison for helping to organize this program. And thank you to all of our attendees for taking the time out to be with us here today. I know that we even have our friend Jobert Padada from the Philippines joining us, as well as members from all over the country. So thank you so much, everyone, for coming. We wish you all the very best. And we wish our chapter sponsors the best in your next membership drive and in everything you do. Please stay tuned for more information about the next Speaker Series event, which will probably be held in January of 2026. And that's all we have for you today. So thank you all. And goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you.